Hey guys, it's Jake. Thanks so much for your positive feedback on my last video. If you'd like to see more of me or my game, please consider subscribing. Now let's get into it. So the game was lacking a title screen, and the whole game is supposed to be like this California vibe with like palm trees and whatnot, and there's no better way to show that, in my opinion, than going to the beach. And I'd already made a beach for it. So I just made this scene where the camera was looking at the player and the beach is behind him, there's a lamppost and some palm trees in the background, and you just get to see the waves coming in and out. And I spent the time animating that, and you couldn't really see it when you drove past. Sometimes, I mean, you could see like a little bit of it, but it's cool that you can actually see the work that I put into it now. So what I needed to do, since I shifted the frame of focus to the front of the player, I needed to have the camera rotate around to the back while he's moving to show like the scene transitioning. The next thing that I really wanted to work on, and I've been wanting to work on it for quite a while, is a new zone for the game. So I had a couple ideas in my mind, but the one I liked the most was this slot canyon that you had to weave through. And it changes the gameplay a little bit because mainly throughout the rest of it, you're basically going straight, varying a little bit, but with the canyon, slot canyon, you can, it pushes you and makes you like actually focus on turning more. So the first thing I did for the new zone is I opened up Blender and made some 3D models, some rough 3D models, to just get the idea of how it would look. And I put them into Unity, and I just gave them the basic bending texture. And with this basic layout with just the red texture, it gave me a good idea of how like the gameplay would work. So the next thing I did is I wanted to create some textures. And my initial thoughts was to make it like a mesa kind of look, kind of like how it was in Minecraft when you're in the mesa biome. So I went and I created that, and I just had to make it so all the tiles for all the models matched up with like the lines that we're going through to make it consistent for each tile map. And I really liked the mesa look that I had going, but then my wife came in and told me that it looked like so I moved on and created a rockier texture with like a sandy ground to go along with it. But it was too realistic for what it was like with the actual game. So later I changed that to be like a little lower intensity, I guess you could say. So with a better looking texture, I now needed to make a transition piece from one zone to the other. Because if you were to go from one zone to the other, you would see a lot of mesh problems and it just didn't really flow well. So to get around this, I made a transition piece and just edited it into the script that allowed my zones. So shifting gears away from the zones, I wanted to work on something else, and something that's been needed for quite a while was a way for the player to actually get rubies in the game. So I started off by making a 3D model of a ruby so I could put it in the actual game. So after I created the model, I didn't have a lot of time, so I just put it in the game and made it so the player can jump into it, and every time that you do, it'll increase the ruby count by 1. But in the future, I'm going to lock it so that you can only get 1 ruby every single day. Moving on from there, it was finally time to make a daily reward system. First, I needed to make a menu that would hold the icons for the chests from Crosswalk the game. I just brought over the same assets. And this menu would show which chests you've already opened and in the days progressing to the one that's animating. If it's animating, that means that that's the one that you can tap to unlock. The next thing I had to do was the harder part, which was the actual code involved. So what I did is I got the day's date and I compared it to check if the user was to close their app and open it again on the same day, that it wouldn't open another daily reward system. And it's the daily reward how I wanted it. I didn't want it just like every time you open it to get the next chest in advance, or like the next chest. I wanted it so you have to do it in 7 days in a row to get the greatest reward. So every time that you don't do it in a row, it reverts back to the first day. So to do this, I took the day's date and I compared it, or I saved it in the memory, and then from then I could compare it to when you open the game again, it would look at the date and compare it to the one that's in memory. So if it's the same date, it wouldn't do anything, it wouldn't open any messages. but if it's the date in succession, it would. So this would check to make sure they didn't open it 3 days later and get the reward anyway, and it would just go back to the first day. So then the final thing to do for the daily reward system is just to add the bonus messages and give the player the reward. And I just made it real simple. It just says congratulations, and then it shows you the amount plus what the item is that you're getting. And this can be changed to whatever I need it to do later on. Thank you guys for watching. If you'd like to play one of my games, Crosswalk the game is out on the App Store right now, and I'll have a link to that in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next one.